Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday, July 18th edition of the MMAOB Daily Show. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin. Going to be taking you guys through the latest in the world of mixed martial arts. First and foremost, guys, follow me on Twitter at MMAdamMartin. This podcast is available at MMAOddsbreaker.com. Check us out on YouTube and like, share, and subscribe. I'd appreciate that, guys. Also, check me out at bjpen.com, Cerrone.com, MMAnews.com, and MMARings.net. So another kind of short show today, actually. Not a ton of news to talk about, but there was a major fight announcement yesterday that I want to get right into, as well as a few other news and notes. But like I mentioned just a second ago, there was a huge fight announcement that was made last night to Kevin Iole of Yahoo Sports. Dana White confirmed fight that was being teased by Donald Cerrone on his social media. And Donald Cerrone is going to be fighting Justin Gaethje in the main event of UFC Fight Night Vancouver at September 14th in Vancouver. I mean, this is an amazing fight. I can't believe this is happening. This is awesome. Incredible fight. Two of the best fighters in the world for sure at 155. Two of my personal favorites, especially Gaethje. I mean, anyone who knows me, anyone who's been following my work for the last 5-6 years knows how much I like watching Gaethje fight. And the guy's just an incredible fighter. I love watching him fight in WSOF. He's an amazing signing for the UFC. He's been incredible in the UFC. And of course, Donald Cerrone, I mean, the guy's incredible. Sure, I haven't been great at picking his fights. I sometimes I pick against him, and he ends up winning. But the guy, I know he's an amazing fighter. So I'm sure people will be like, "Oh, you're going to pick Justin Gaethje in this one." Well, I have to think about it a little bit more. I haven't really decided who I'm going to pick yet, but of course I'm leaning towards Justin. But they're both such good fighters. Let's just pull the records out here and just take a look at what they've been doing lately. I think Vancouver, though, is definitely getting a really good fight and a good card, too, from what I've seen so far. That's UFC on ESPN plus 16, UFC Fight at 158. Other fights on that card, before I get into the matchup, include Glover Teixeira versus Nikita Krylov, David Branch versus Andrew Sanchez, Marcin Tybura versus Augusto Sakai, Uriah Hall versus Antonio Carlos Jr., Todd Duffy versus Jeff Hughes, and Misha Cirkunov versus Jimmy Cruz. So great card for what I'm seeing so far. Rogers Arena will be rocking that night. I have talked about all those previous fights on previous versions of the podcast. Of course, I'll be doing a breakdown in September for that full fight card. But for now, let's just talk about this Gaethje and Cerrone fight, which was just announced. I mean, again, great fight. Of course, Justin Gaethje, 30 years old, coming off of two incredible knockout wins over Edson Barboza and James Vick, to really bounce back into title contention after back-to-back knockout losses to Dustin Poirier and Eddie Alvarez. He obviously opened his UFC career with an incredible fight against Michael Johnson. Really, that was actually 2 years ago, if you can believe it, over 2 years ago now, which is incredible. And I remember that fight very well. It was just an incredible fight. I remember I was at my softball game, and my team was like, "Oh, come out and have some drinks with me." And I was like, "I can't. I have to watch a fight." They're all looking at me kind of funny. Like I don't think they really watch fights. I'm like, I have something to do, guys. Go home, turn on and fight. It was one of the best fights I've ever seen. Gaethje knocked out Michael Johnson, and then of course fought Eddie Alvarez. And another fight of the night, got knocked out, and then another fight of the night against Dustin Poirier, got knocked out again. A lot of people were like, "Man, this guy's overrated. He's nothing special. Like, he beat up cans in WSOF," which is not true, by the way. He beat up some pretty good fighters in WSOF, but he's bounced back really well since then with knockout wins over James Vick and the one over Edson Barboza, especially. I mean, that guy's an incredible talent himself, Edson Barboza is. So that's a top 5 win for Gaethje. He's a top 5 guy in this division right now. This division, I wouldn't say it's wide open, but there's definitely some ambiguity as far as who's going to be the next guy in line for a title shot. So the winner of this fight definitely is going to put themselves in a good position to get a potential title shot. Maybe not next, but at least possibly at the end of the year or early next year against the winner of Khabib and Dustin Poirier, who of course fight 1 week earlier at UFC 242. So again, this is going to be a great fight. And let's talk about Cerrone quickly. He's 36 now, but as we know from what we've seen him lately, still a young guy at heart. So 3 straight wins against Mike Perry, Alexander Hernandez, and Al Iaquinta before losing to Tony Ferguson in his last fight due to some controversial. I mean, it was a doctor's stoppage. He obviously blew his nose and his eye exploded, but there was a late punch that had some controversy. Personally, I thought Tony Ferguson would have won that fight either way. So to me, there really wasn't as much controversy as some people said, but there was a lot of calls for a rematch. That's not happening now. I'm glad that's not happening. I mean, I didn't think it made sense personally. I think at this point, Tony Ferguson really does deserve that next title shot. I think we all know who he's going to be fighting, the winner of Poirier and Khabib. But after that, there really is a question mark of who's next. There's Conor McGregor still out there. there's the winner of this fight between Cerrone and Gaethje. So there's a couple other guys out there, but yes, Ferguson should be next in line. But after that, it really is up in the air. So this is perfect matchmaking, I think, by the UFC. Even though Cerrone's coming off a loss and Gaethje's coming off 2 straight wins, we all know this is going to be an amazing fight. 2 guys that are always the fight of the nights. 2 guys that always bring it. Just an incredible matchup. I can't wait for this fight. Again, Rogers Arena, is getting an amazing matchup here, and the fans of Vancouver are going to love this one. I know my boy James Lynch will be there. It's going to be a great fight for him to watch. Kind of wish it was in Toronto, but it is what it is, right? Maybe Gaethje one day will fight in Toronto. I'd love to see that, but just a great fight, an amazing matchup. Definitely curious to see what the odds are. I don't know. I mean, I have to think about it a little bit more, but I mean, I guess with Gaethje coming off the 2 straight wins, you'd have to favor him ever so slightly here. But man, it's a tough one because Cerrone's got that special just ability to win fights, and Gaethje does get tagged a lot in his fights, as we all know. So if Cerrone can go there and just implement a technical game plan, he could possibly win. But we know Gaethje likes to walk forward, likes to swing bombs, and Cerrone has been knocked out before. So I would not be surprised if Gaethje did finish him as well, because that's what he's known for. And you know what? 2 guys with great leg kicks too. So this could be an amazing leg kick battle. Man, it's like the UFC's really nailed it with Justin Gaethje's matchmaking since he came to the UFC. Just match after match has been fight of the night. So they've been killing it with their matchmaking as far as Gaethje goes, and with Cerrone too. So got to give kudos to the matchmakers, man. This is a great fight. I honestly wasn't even thinking this fight was going to happen, but I'm glad it did, and it really does make sense if you look at the rankings. So amazing matchup. Love this fight. Cannot wait for this fight. When I saw this news, when I got home last night, I was like, wow, what a great fight. So amazing matchup. Love it, and can't wait for this fight. It's going to be so good. So UFC Fight Night 158 in Vancouver. Justin Gaethje versus Donald Cerrone. Great fight. All right. Got a couple other things to talk about here. So Dana White pretty much put any thoughts of a Jorge Masvidal versus Conor McGregor matchup to rest. He just said this fight's not happening. In Dana White's estimation, Conor McGregor should never fight welterweight again. He did twice against Nate Diaz, as we know, but he said he's just too small. He said Jorge Masvidal is just way too big for him, and I agree. I mean, Masvidal is a big guy. He did fight 155 before, but he was cutting a ton of weight to make 155. He was one of those guys that was, just a bad weight cutter, egregious weight cutter, and finally realized, hey, I don't have to cut as much weight, and I could be a better fighter at 170. And he really has looked better at 170. Masvidal has. So he should never fight 155 again, and McGregor should never fight 170 again. So this fight doesn't make a lot of sense. I can't blame Masvidal for calling McGregor out. I mean, he is a big money fight, even if he hasn't fought in a while. So I can see it from Masvidal's point of view why he did call him out in the first place. But yeah, this fight doesn't make sense. So Dana White actually made, I think, a good call here by saying, this fight's not happening. Connor's going to fight someone else, and Masvidal will fight with someone else. And Masvidal also said that besides McGregor, the only other guy he'd fight is Usman. And I do think that fight could happen. It just depends on what happens, I guess, between Covington and Lawler. Dana White has said that, well, Covington had the title shot, he should get it again. I'm not buying that completely, to be honest with you guys. Like, I don't think Dana White really particularly likes Colby Covington. We know what happened at that casino that one time, and Dana White said all this water under the bridge. But really, if it was, then why is he fighting Robbie Lawler? Why isn't he just getting a title shot? Why didn't he just book him again? There's something going on there between Dana and the UFC, or excuse me, Dana White and Colby Covington and the UFC. And Dan Lambert, the manager, he's talked about this, just said he wasn't 100% sure, but they had to take a fight anyways. And he said the UFC kind of forced this fight on Colby. So to me, it just shows that they don't 100% like this guy because of some of the stuff he said about the promotion in the past, and about the president in the past. So we'll see. I mean, it just depends. If Colby Covington goes out there and flatlines Robbie Lawler, I mean, that could possibly jump him ahead of Masvidal. Like, technically, he is ahead in the rankings, but I just feel like Masvidal's win over Askren with the 5-second knockout, that's the kind of win that really does get you a title shot and bump you in line. So to me, I do think Masvidal will get that next shot at Usman, but I guess we do have to see what happens at that UFC Newark card, which actually takes place just a couple of weeks. It's crazy, right? That fight card is coming up really quickly. And who knows? I should mention, I mean, if Lawler goes out there and knocks out Covington, people are going to say Lawler should get the title shot. So we'll see what happens there. But I do think Masvidal has the upper hand just based on that incredible 5-second flying EKO of Ben Askren. Couple other things here. Ali Abdelaziz is back in the news. He talked to TMZ, and he said that he thinks Urijah Faber could get a title shot, but he wants him to fight his client, Marlon Moraes, first. Now, it's ridiculous, right? Because Moraes just got finished by Henry Cejudo. But the other thing is, Moraes technically is ranked #1 in the division behind Henry Cejudo right now. He still is the #1 contender. We all know he's coming off a loss. But I could see some of merit to what Ali's saying, especially because he does manage Henry Cejudo. So he does have a say in who Henry Cejudo is going to fight next. Doesn't sound like he's too interested in this matchup with Faber just yet. He wants Faber to get another win. And I can see why he's saying that. I can see why everyone else says that too. I mean, Faber just beat Ricky Simone. He was, I think, ranked number 15. He might have been unranked. That's not the kind of win that should get you a title shot. But again, I still think he will, because he's the biggest name and biggest draw at 135 right now. These other guys like Sterling, great fighter. Don't get me wrong, great fighter, and he deserves a title shot. I've wrote articles about this this week, a couple articles actually. But will he get title shot or Faber? I can't see it happening. I just can't. Same with Peter Yan, great fighter, but no one really knows who he is yet. So I'm talking about casual fans. Hardcore fans know who these guys are, obviously. But to me, these guys, they really have to separate themselves from the pack with a bigger win or something like that. And Faber right now with that huge knockout win over Simone and a big name, I think he gets the next title shot. So we'll see what happens there. But if I had to guess, I still think Faber's going to get it. But he might have to fight one more time, because it looks like, again, Dana White said, and I talked about this yesterday, that he thinks Cejudo should fight Joseph Benavidez for the flyweight title next, which would make a lot more sense. It would really, I think, take away some of the controversy of Faber potentially getting a title shot, because he could just fight Sterling or whoever for a number one contender spot instead. So we'll see what happens there. And last thing I want to talk about here before I get out of here, guys, the Bellator Featherweight Grand Prix. So I mentioned this the other day. I talked about the matchups and stuff. I watched the Scott Coker scrum yesterday from, I think, Los Angeles. He did the stare downs and stuff for the fighters, but he did mention a few details in the card. One thing I found interesting was, first off, there's 16 fighters. So it's a little different than the other tournaments that had 8 fighters. So according to Coker, and he said this is something that's going to happen going forward. He said that there's no bracket yet, which I found interesting, actually. And according to Coker, he said all the fighters are going to be in some room, I think the Viacom offices, or I don't know if he's going to film this or not. In my opinion, they should film this, because people are going to think it's sketchy if they don't. But he said that all the fighters are going to go and crack an egg open and pull their number out. And there's going to be 60 or 8 guys, I think, on the board after this. And they're going to pull their number, and there's going to be dates and locations. And the first guy gets to pick what date and location he wants to fight. And then the next guy pulls his egg and he picks, does he want to fight that guy, or does he want to take another date and location? So these guys are going to pull their eggs out with the numbers in the eggs and pick their date and location, which I found really interesting. So I really hope that they're being sincere about this, and it's not like some sketchy thing that happens, with away from the TV cameras and no one sees it happening, and they're like, oh yeah, this is what they pulled. Because if that happens, people are going to be like, well, you guys just made matchups that you wanted to, right? So I hope that doesn't happen. From what Coker says, it's going to be, so I think someone's going to be able to watch this and verify that it is in fact legitimate. So that's good. But it's interesting, though. They're going to pull eggs, break them open, pick the matchups. And he said they're going to do this going forward for the other Grand Prix. So if they hold a potentially light heavyweight one next year, they could do the same thing, which I think is cool, though. I kind of like it better than what they were doing the last couple tournaments, where they did pick the matchups in the first round. I like this random draw better. Again, I really do hope it's legitimate, because it's a good idea. But if it's not televised, then people are going to be like, what the heck's going on here? Or at least if there's no journalists there. As long as there's some journalists there, they can at least watch and verify that this in fact is legitimate, and that these fighters did pull these numbers out of their eggs, and they did want to pick these matchups. That could be good. So it should be interesting. And man, that car, I'm getting really excited for that event, though, guys. Like, I was looking at, again, the stare downs yesterday. You can go check those out. Wow, I mean, there's some good fights on those cards. There's 2 cards: Bellator 226, 228. Great fights, like Adrian Key versus Georgi Karakonyan, and that fight's sick. Like, that's a good fight. I like that matchup. Adrian Key's pissed that he's not getting a title shot against Pitbull next, but Juan Archuleta, he apparently called Scott Coker, his team called him and said, I want a title shot. And he deserves it, man. He's got such a long win streak. I think 18 straight wins. So McKee's got 14 straight. Archuleta's got 18. So he deserves a title shot. He looked amazing. Either way, I'm really excited for those cards. And they also did the stare down. I should mention for the Bader and Congo fight. And man, Congo's a big dude. So that's an interesting fight. Bader is going to be the clear favorite for that one, but Congo's a big guy. And remember, Bader was fighting at 205 his whole career. So that should be actually an interesting fight, because we know Congo was able to slow fights down and just grind them out against the fence. And he's got 85 win streak. You can't discount Chia Congo in that fight, although I do think Ryan Bader probably wins. And Scott Coker did say that he thinks Ryan Bader, after this fight with Congo, he's going to try getting back in there to defend that light heavyweight belt. So that should be interesting. And he did mention, the last thing I should say, Rafael Laval Jr. is injured. That's why Mousasi's fighting Machida on that card, UFC or Bellator 226, I believe, or 228, one of the two. But Machia's fighting Musasi in a rematch, and the winner will be fighting Rafael Lavar Jr. for the title later. I think actually maybe later this year or early next year, but that's kind of interesting. And Douglas Lima is going to be fighting Roy McDonald in October in the Mohegan Sun Resort or whatever. So that should be interesting. That's a good fight as well. I can't wait for that one. And Rory McDonald got his 30 days off. And yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So that was a good interview with Scott Coker. I like how forthcoming he was about the dates and locations about the future fights. So that's pretty cool. But anyways, guys, yeah, I think that's about it. That's what I want to talk about today. Thank you guys for tuning in again. I always appreciate it. Check me out on Twitter at MMAOB. This podcast is available at MMAOddsbreaker.com and our YouTube channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. Check me out at SureDog.com, BJPen.com, MMAnews.com, and MMARings.net. Guys, have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow for the Friday edition. Until then, have an awesome day, and I'll see you later.